Hello. Who do you think are simultaneously the holiest and most joyous of all the characters in C.S. Lewis's fiction? Well, I've come up with my top three. There might be more. Two from Narnia and one other. So first I've chosen Reepicheep the mouse because he is filled with such exuberant joy when it comes to his total devotion to Aslan, who of course enacts Christ in the stories, and his intense desire for Aslan's country. Lewis told one reader that The Voyage of the Dawn Treader was all about the spiritual life, especially in Reepicheep. He's mostly quite a serious fellow, actually, desperately concerned for honour and valour and glory in battle. And at the end of Prince Caspian, he'd been awarded the knighthood of the Order of the Lion, and he's in effect the medieval knight, or Christian soldier if you like, in earnest service of his king. And like the knights of the old legends, he's driven by love. Not love of a lady, like in the courtly love tradition, but love of the lion. And this ardent desire for Aslan and Aslan's country is infused with deep joy. In The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, there's a quest on hand to locate the fate of 7 lords sent out of Narnia by Caspian's wicked stepfather, Miraz. But Reepicheep has a higher hope, which is to sail to the eastern edge of the world, to Aslan's own country. And he loves to sit by the dragon-headed prow of the ship, gazing longingly forwards to the east and singing quietly to himself the prophecy he was given at his birth by a dryad of the forest. Where the waves grow sweet, you will find all you seek. His excitement becomes extreme near the edge of the world when he jumps into the sea and finds the water there is indeed sweet. He was chattering with the greatest excitement, but as his mouth kept on getting filled with water, nobody could understand what he was saying. Sweet, he cheeped. Sweet, sweet, I tell you, the water's sweet, sweet, fresh. It isn't salt, that's what it is. Drinkable light. We must be very near the end of the world now. And as he anticipates Aslan's country, he claps his paws together and his eyes shine. And he goes on alone to break the enchantment which is upon the 3 sleepers of Ramandu's island, sacrificing himself by travelling beyond the end of the world, never to return. But to Reepicheep it is not sacrifice, of course, and he's trembling with joy as he goes. And he flings away his sword in the end, because there'll be no more battles to fight beyond the eastern sea in Aslan's land, his heart's desire attained, his joy fulfilled. Lewis wrote to a 5th grade class in Maryland, anyone in our world who devotes his whole life to seeking heaven will be like Reepicheep. So he is my first choice for both most holy and most joyous character. And for my second choice, I've chosen Lucy, also from the Narnia stories. At the end of The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, Queen Lucy, we're told, is always gay. But by then we've seen her deep gladness at meeting Father Christmas. We've seen her joyous romp on Aslan's How with the lion, dancing round and round for joy with Tumnus when the fawn is liberated in the witch's castle. She always wears her heart on her sleeve, weeping quite easily, but more often than not she's light-hearted and merry. In 3 of the books she's characterised by clapping her hands for joy. No other human character is given this mannerism. Reepicheep does it, we've seen. On a brief appearance in The Horse and His Boy, Lucy has a very merry face, even though she's setting off to battle, all togged up in her war gear. Of all the characters in the Chronicles, Lucy seems particularly close to Aslan. That's the holy bit. Perhaps it's because she's so sensitive to other people, to the world around her, and sensitive to Aslan. She suspects when something dreadful's going to happen to him on the Hill of the Stone Table, and she feels so deeply for him. In Prince Caspian, we're told how she understood some of his moods. And in Prince Caspian, it's Lucy who's the first to see Aslan as they wander up and down Narnia, trying to get to Caspian at Aslan's How. And as the children tramp the country, not sure which way is best, she sees Aslan and somehow knows by his face that he wants them to go up and not down the gorge. And when she meets Aslan in the woods, she was so happy she did not want to speak. Aslan leads them to a path that will enable them to cross the gorge, and he turned and looked at her with his happy eyes. Lucy clapped her hands and began to scramble down after him. On one occasion, in The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, after a glorious sunset, thinking of the unknown places ahead of them at the very edge of the world, again she felt almost too happy to speak. And when Tyrion meets her in the wonder of the new Narnia in the last battle, he's an instant admirer, observing from the thrill in her voice that she was drinking everything in even more deeply than the others. And for a third time, we find she had been too happy to speak. In Prince Caspian, Susan's worried about what she'll say to Aslan when she meets him after her refusal to believe that Lucy can see him, and Lucy's able to advise her. Perhaps you won't need to say much, she says. In the last book of the series, Puzzle the Donkey's afraid of meeting Aslan, mindful of his foolishness in his old life, and it's Lucy again who can say to him, "You'll find it will be all right when you really do." She knows, you see, she knows Aslan's ways. It's often Lucy's intimacy with Aslan which brings her joy. When we're told that at the victory feast in Prince Caspian, Lucy is sitting close to Aslan and divinely comfortable, we guess that the closeness is more than just physical closeness. And the comfortableness is divine, perhaps, in the truest sense of the word. So that's Lucy. My third contender for being simultaneously the holiest and most joyous character in Lewis's fiction comes from The Great Divorce. And there, on the outskirts of heaven, it's someone you'll never have heard of, says the narrator's guide, George MacDonald. It's actually Sarah Smith of Golders Green, a suburb of London. And she's so glorious a being that the narrator's just mistaken her for the Blessed Virgin. But no, she's just little old Sarah Smith from Golders Green. On earth, she lived with her husband Frank, who appears here on a day trip to the edge of heaven as a cold, damp, shrunken thing, dominated by his alter ego, as a self-pitying caricature of himself. And he's an inadequate, manipulative personality. And despite her marriage, though, Sarah's earthly life has had an extraordinary impact for good, for love, for redemption in the lives of everyone who crossed her path. Even the animals, every beast and bird that came near her had its place in her love. In her, they became themselves. And now, in heaven, Sarah Smith is one of the great ones. MacDonald says there's joy enough in the little finger of a great saint such as yonder lady to waken all the dead things of the universe into life. So you see, the saintliness, the holiness and the joy go together. When the other bright spirits sing about her, they start off, the Holy Trinity is her home. Nothing can trouble her joy. Notice how Lewis says the happy Trinity, where we would usually say Holy Trinity, as if holiness and happiness unite in God. Sarah Smith's love shines from her face and seems to flow a bit like a liquid all over her body as the great lady stoops. Twice it's described how she stoops still lower to kiss the grotesque, diminished creature that is her husband, Frank. Courtesy and love flow from her to him. She is in love, she explains, not that feeble, earthly, trying to fulfill my own need kind of love, but being in love himself, in God. I am in love, and out of it I will not go, she says. Her beauty is unbearable. The spirits sing, he fills her brimful with immensity of life. She herself proclaims, here is all joy. So those are my choices for showing how the holiness and the joy come together in Reepicheep, Lucy and Sarah Smith. Thanks for watching.